Joining us now with more, former advisor to Bill Clinton, Doug Schoen, and host of the Tudor Dixon podcast, Tudor Dixon. Doug, if you could right now give us a snapshot of the Democrat field, considering where Joe's poll numbers are, considering what he's got looming, considering what his opponent has looming, considering his capabilities, would you advise him to run, or is it time to look to the bench?
Well, I would say this, Pete. He has serious negatives, both in terms of performance, ethics, and age. But that being said, he is tied with or slightly ahead of Donald Trump. And as long as that's the case, the Democrats will keep him as their nominee and not turn to anyone else. Part of the reason for that judgment is because the most likely alternative is Vice President Kamala Harris, who, if the numbers be believed, and I do, is actually weaker, both in terms of her ratings and against Trump, than Joe Biden.
Doug, those numbers have tightened, though, and in some battleground states, Trump is shown now ahead. I mean, is there a moment where the politicos step in and say, okay, enough of this, we can't win this in 24?
We're a long way away from that, Pete. It could happen, but with Donald Trump facing 4 indictments and numbers that are almost as bad, if not in some instances worse than Joe Biden, we're a long way away from it for purely political reasons.
Purely political reasons. Nothing to do with competence, nothing to do with ethics, all political. Tudor, you're familiar with one of the players on the potential bench.
Numbers, Pete.
It's poll numbers. Yeah, you're exactly right. That's how Washington works on so many levels. What do you make of her name being floated and the others? Michelle Obama being another one, Tudor.
Well, I think it's interesting because I do think that the point of polls is good because Joe Biden is considered a moderate. He can still run on a moderate, even though we know the truth about him. But Gretchen Whitmer can't run as a moderate. Gavin Newsom can't run as a moderate. And I don't think Michelle Obama really wants to jump in. She is the threat they always use because it makes the Republicans scared. They don't like the idea of Obama running, but they're already running things behind the scenes. She doesn't want to give up her lifestyle and jump into this race. Now, we know Gavin Newsom and Gretchen Whitmer do, but we have become a lot smarter about how to educate people about candidates. And Gretchen Whitmer has had a really bad second term. The state of Michigan is falling apart. Right now, you're seeing this news as we speak about the union suing the automakers because they're suing them for unfair labor practices because they've come back and said, we'll give you a 9% raise. And the unions are saying, we want a 46% raise. And they're even using Gretchen Whitmer's language saying, we'll fight like hell to get equitable money for our workers. This is not a good look for Gretchen Whitmer when we don't have business in the state of Michigan. Gavin Newsom has a similar situation with the theft in California, the businesses that are leaving. This is not a good look for them. I think Democrats will say, we'd rather stay with someone who we can pretend is a moderate right now.
So Gretchen Whitmer's got the same problem as Gavin Newsom. She would have a record to defend, a quality of life to actually defend in that particular state. Doug, let's just say the poll numbers went there. Who would it be? Michelle Obama's shown no interest, it seems, publicly, or very little, sort of, in this. But if desperation struck and it can't be Kamala Harris, where do they turn?
Well, I think first it would be Kamala Harris. She is the sitting vice president. And in the polling my firm, Schoen Cooperman, has done, she's well ahead of the field. But if it wasn't, my money would be on Gavin Newsom, who's got the interest, he's got the money, and he's got the energy. He would be my bet, notwithstanding the very real problems in California that I don't minimize at all.
Tudor, how much do these, what happened in Hawaii? He was going to go to Florida tomorrow. We'll see how the president performs there. But these big emergencies that where Joe Biden seems absent, and when he is there, he's flippant. How big of it? You described him as a moderate. He hasn't governed as a moderate. I know you're saying that's how people view him. But when it comes to emergencies, and you see, the governor of Florida right now, Ron DeSantis, stepping up and being all over it, over time, does that continue to add to his challenges?
Absolutely. I think that as Republicans get smarter about how to talk to voters, about how to educate, how to advertise these messages, I think this really hurts him. It doesn't hurt him as much right now because the people who are hearing the news are hearing very little about Hawaii, sadly. And because he's not there, it doesn't stay in the news. But if we are able to get our message out and continue to talk about the vacationing over people's lives, then people will recognize that he's not able to do the job. But it's not just that he's not there. It's that when he is there, he says things like, oh, I had a kitchen fire too. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Well, we're looking at people who have lost their lives. You know, when you start to pull together what he does say when he's there, that's when people go, oh, wait, this guy is not capable of running the United States of America.
Doug, real quick on the other side, what's your polling showing you as it pertains to former President Trump as these indictments have loaded on, as trial dates are being set? Has it solidified his Republican support in your numbers, and how has it changed him in a general matchup?
Yeah, it has solidified him vis-a-vis the rest of the Republican field, as the public polling is showing. And we've done a great deal of polling, both nationally and in states, Pete. In the general election, we're showing Trump this week with a 1-point lead. So clearly, he's not eroded at all. Now, the Democratic case is based on the fact that they believe swing voters and suburbanites will turn against him, as they did in 2022, 2020, and 2018. But that remains an open proposition because most elections, Pete, are referenda on the incumbent.
Yeah. Tudor, real quick, your ears to the ground on the Republican side. How is Donald Trump viewed right now amongst the base as it pertains to the nomination?
I think people are still rallied around him. I don't think anybody was that stand-up candidate. Some folks thought that would happen in the debate. Nobody seemed to stand out beyond Donald Trump. So right now, people are just, I keep hearing, well, what happens with these indictments? But we're still with him right now.
Absolutely. All right, Tudor, Doug, thank you very much.